I'm gonna do it just like Joe Rogan. I'm gonna say 3, 2, 1. What's up, man? What's up, Nikita?
What's up?
Dude, Nikita Bair. That's your real last name, right?
Yeah, both my names are Smash moves.
That's so crazy. Do you even play Snake?
No, I play Pokemon in Ultimate, but like all the Ultimate guys in my school keep on trying to get me to play Snake.
Oh, because of Nikita, because your name's
Yeah.
Nikita. That's so funny. How are you liking? I mean, do you own a Switch? Do you have Ultimate?
I've lived with the same roommates for like 3 years, and each one of them has their own Switch and Smash
Oh,
and
okay.
the Fighter Pass. So I've just been using their Switches. I don't own one yet.
Oh, I see. All right. Well, the reason I got you on the podcast is because you asked me, and I was like, yo, I'm super down because I know we've talked before. There was, I think it was last year, you came over to my house and we talked about how to grow my business.
Yeah, I think that was last summer. We played Smash.
Yeah.
Talked about some stuff. Talked about League a little bit.
Yeah, I think the main thing I left with last time we talked was it was kind of life changing because I had never taken any econ classes in high school. I wish I did, but the very most basic concept of supply and demand.
Yeah, I remember that pretty clearly.
Yeah, and ever since I learned that, I mean, it took me a little while, but I've been trying to apply it to myself. Uh, Basically, how to price myself is the most like the best way to use it so far,
Hmm.
and like running my art business. But recently I came across like I looked it up how to increase demand because I want to make more money, obviously, right?
Yeah.
And actually, I can bring up because I've copied and pasted like I have a little document called mental models. I can copy and paste it to you.
Okay.
So one of them that I have in there is supply and demand, and then I have a few others that I like to use, basically for just to help me think. Here, I'll link it to you in the Discord chat.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Look her up. Oh, the Amazon flywheel.
dude, the Amazon flywheel's sick. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen the Amazon flywheel before.
Yeah, it's so basic, but it's like so good for
The
growing
learning
business.
cycle, experience, reflect, thinking, applying, experience. Yeah, I've seen that one.
Yeah, that one was from Armada.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah, he posted that on his video, but I'm sure he got it from somewhere else.
Yeah, that's sick. I didn't know Armado was like talking about that. That's like a basic like business model.
Yeah.
A lot of it's like where like I've taken a few courses on like working in the workforce. And like a topic that's talked about a lot is like actively thinking and actively reflecting.
Mm.
Um, because like you could just sit down in an interview or like during a meeting and like just listen and absorb it all like naturally how you would normally,
Yeah.
but like they focus on how like if you want to improve and if you want to like actually focus on it and be able to reflect better later, that you should focus on actively listening to what they're saying during like times like that. So like trying to, instead of just listening to what's coming in, thinking about what they're saying as you're listening. Something like that. Just trying to stay active. And so like later down, like a day or two later, you can reflect on it and it'll be much clearer.
Mm-hmm.
And like that builds in the reflecting, the thinking, and then the experiencing part all in a row. And after that, you could just apply it like normal.
Yeah, and it kind of feeds into itself. That's what's so
Yeah.
good about that. And same thing with the Amazon flywheel. They feed into themselves. Like the more you do it, the better the process gets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see the supply and demand curve, which is super basic.
Yeah.
Um,
That's like a basic demand shift for it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and then uh, under that, I'm gonna link this for the people whoever's listening on YouTube too, because it's a really great. These are some really great stuff that I use. I want to add more to this document, but I only want to add them if I have like clear diagrams like this, and because there are more mental models that I use
Uh huh.
for myself, but these are the ones that are like super clear. Um, but yeah, anyway, below that you see there's like surplus and shortage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then below
Excess supply.
that is the most important thing that I've been trying to focus on, which is demand shifters, basically increasing demand.
Hmm.
And what I have there is like knowing people's tastes and preferences. The more consumers you have, the more demand you'll have. The price, you'll have greater demand if your prices are lower. And then the income thing is like other people's income.
Yeah.
Like if your consumer base has a higher income, or the demand will decrease or increase based on the consumer's income.
Yeah.
And also expectations is that part is like how the market will move, how the market will change moving forward. Like for example, if some item is like super common, or like it's just not going to be needed in the future, demand's going to just go down. For example, like old school, I don't know, like a Nokia phone or something, like any phone that's not a smartphone.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Just because there were other products that were just way better. So,
yeah, it's like, it could be a multitude of reasons for stuff like that, or you could do like, 4th of July is coming up, so hot dog buns are going to increase.
Oh, right,
So
right.
You don't buy hot dog buns like in the end of June, stuff like that.
Right.
Or then that on July 5th, hot dog buns are going to drop hard. So you expect that to happen. You're going to plan to buy them.
Right.
So it could be like small shifters like that they will return to equilibrium. So it's not necessarily they're just going to fall out of the market like Nokia and stuff like that. But
right.
It could be
so some things are seasonal.
Yeah. There's seasonal expectations and shifts in demand and supply. Just like how you would never buy a pine tree except for December.
Right.
So that's not really a market to enter, but if you're in it, when you're getting paid.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, that makes sense. So, dude, well, first of all, let me ask you before I get into like my own business stuff. Like, how's it going? Like, you're in your 3rd year, right? 3rd?
Yeah, I'm in my 3rd year.
So, what kind of stuff have you taken?
In terms of like economics and like finance, I've taken a few accounting courses. I've taken like financial accounting. I've taken managerial accounting. I've taken financial management. I'm taking investments. I've taken a bunch of economics courses. I've taken like basic and advanced microeconomics and macroeconomics. I've taken econometrics, which is like applied calculus and statistics in economics. So it's a lot of like paper writing, how to write economic papers and scholarly papers using economics and stuff like that. I've taken a few electives. I've taken economics of crime, where you so you're looking at the issues in like, you look at crime from like a economic background where you see that the lens we were looking at was through like injustice. So you'd look at how we fill jails for economic benefit because the state gets more money for the amount of people, or the prisoners get money. You pay, or not the prisoners, the prison guards get paid because they're paid to watch. Right. So the more you fill up jails, the more you get. How policemen have quotas in some situations. So we're looking at like the economic benefit of punishing people, essentially. Right, so that was a pretty cool class. Yeah.
What's interesting about that is because those things basically follow the rules of models like supply and demand, and it's an example of when there's a system that's successful, whether or not it's morally correct, it's still going to feed into itself because it's so successful, right? Like the same thing happens with like monopolies.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah, monopolies are a big deal. Yeah. Monopolies. Monopolies just feed themselves into more monopolies. It's kind of hard to enter a monopoly nowadays just because of like a bunch of antitrust laws. But like, depending on the type of monopoly, I'm trying to think of a good one. So like, Walmart just basically has the ability to suffocate any other competitor.
Right.
Which we saw with a lot of like the mom and pop stores in the past like decade or so, of how they just went out of business and then they bought them out. Basically how like a Walmart moving in was essentially a death sentence, and all that did was raise revenues for Walmart along the way.
Right. And same thing happens even more so with Amazon. That's grown a lot faster.
Yeah.
Amazon's crazy right now.
Yeah, Amazon is just hemorrhaging everyone else in the market. We saw with Toys R Us. Yeah, Toys R Us was Toys R Us bankruptcy was like directly related to their lack of online presence.
I just bought something from Amazon today.
I don't know if I bought anything from Amazon recently.
I bought a gift for my wife.
Amazon's taken over.
Dude, let's go Amazon. I mean, I'm down. Like, Well, the thing is, I don't know much about the like. I don't know if people talk about the conditions, people talk about corruption, people talk about, money hungry, greedy billionaires, but I don't think that's the case with Bezos. I think he's just a really good businessman. I mean, I don't know him, right?
Yeah.
But Amazon's, I mean, for the most part, does what it does the best out of anybody for the best price. And they're really competitive in that they really try to make sure they're, I mean, one of their slogans, I guess you could call it, is like customer obsession, where they really try to make sure the customer is satisfied and will come back to Amazon. I mean, do you buy stuff do you shop Amazon?
Yeah, I shop at Amazon quite a lot.
Yeah, me too.
I think the last thing I bought was a Halloween costume.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're taking over, man. We do almost all our shopping, like probably more than 50% of our shopping online now.
Yeah, it's just convenient.
Yeah.
They price match, so like it just depends what you're looking for, right? If you're looking for a physical copy of a video game, it's going to have better prices in Best Buy and get there within 2 days maximum.
Yeah.
Like it's just a matter of the fact that it's convenient sake now. You don't need to order anything 2 weeks in advance because you can order it with the 1 or 2 day shipping, and it's free.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like Amazon's just so convenient that it's almost impossible not to use.
And speaking of that, the convenience market is like going up so much, specifically with the rise of food delivery businesses.
Yeah.
It started out, what was the first one? Like Uber Eats? I don't remember which was first.
I think the first one might have been Grubhub.
Oh, Grubhub, okay. But now there's several. There's like Postmates, Uber Eats, DoorDash, and more. I don't know. There's probably more.
Yeah, you got Uber Eats, you got DoorDash, you got Grubhub, you got Postmates, and then you have a bunch of like, I know McDonald's you have companies partnering with them.
Right,
now.
right. Yeah.
So they now have exclusive partners that you can only, if you want Taco Bell delivered, you got to call DoorDash, stuff like that. So now like even the companies themselves are monopolizing something that they weren't already going to do.
Mm-hmm, right.
So Taco Bell was never going to invest in delivery because it wasn't viable for them to pay delivery salesmen.
Yeah.
But now you have a company paying you to let them use them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Convenience market is really highly contested and desirable right now.
Yeah, that's the game right now. Because I mean, the more technology allows you to I mean, it's a means for communication, and it's what's interesting is that ideas like that could have happened a long time ago, something like Uber. It's just the innovation is not really in the technology, it's more in the idea of something really convenient. So there's bound to be so much more coming soon, as far as like you could just sit at your home. You've seen Wall-E, right? The Pixar movie?
Yeah.
Where these people are just kind of like floating around these little hover chairs.
Yeah, you don't have to move ever.
To them. It's
like,
kind of dystopian, but that I feel like that's what we're moving toward. The more and more the convenience market grows.
Yeah, self-driving cars.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be big too. That I know I watch a lot of videos about like Elon Musk and Tesla, and how trucking. I mean, Andrew Yang talks about that a lot. How trucking is gonna get taken over by AI and stuff.
Yeah, how we're not gonna learn how to drive. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I mean, we might see it as like, oh, some of these skills are gonna be lost, but if they're not necessary anymore, people are gonna learn how to do other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and the way that it's gonna work is that, at least according to like Musk and the others, is that the safest way to drive will be nobody driving.
Right. I agree with that, actually, because the thing is, I actually have a friend who works in testing AI cars, and the cars are constantly getting better and better, and in some senses they're already better than people. Like, according to Musk, they're already better than people when it comes to highways.
Yeah.
Because highways are actually really simple. Like when you're first learning to drive, you're afraid of the highway, but it's actually the easiest part of driving because you just go straight.
You go straight. You should never theoretically stop.
Yeah.
Because like traffic jams are just caused from people slowing down, and then everyone else slows down behind you until the first person fully stops.
Yeah.
And then the traffic jam starts.
And then with self-driving cars, I also believe that, like, I think if there's some small town that is willing to test like only self-driving cars, or like some new community where there's only self-driving cars and they're all kind of like in the network. I mean, save hacking, it's pretty much going to be 100% safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes me wonder, like, where technology will take us, because it's just making things more and more convenient and easy.
Yeah, and now you're having like self-learning coding AI, where you code this AI so it could learn how to do basic coding.
Yeah.
And so like these computer science people in the industry are essentially making their own replacements.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting, because like I know I watch a video by CGP Grey on how the YouTube algorithm works.
Yeah.
And if you've it's there's been a noticeable difference in the past couple of years, that the YouTube algorithm is so good at finding stuff that you like now. It used to be just kind of random stuff, just stuff from your sub feed, but now it's like you go on YouTube and it's like, hey, I want to watch all of these videos because they're like really good. But anyway, the video was about like how the algorithm builds upon itself, because they're using robots to code the algorithm, but nobody knows how the robots work, because the algorithms are the initial algorithm is coding more algorithms to find good videos, and it's like Darwinistic. Like all the algorithms that suck, they just throw out. They keep the ones that are good, and then they like mutate those and make millions more, and then it's basically Darwinistic evolution happening with coding algorithms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, another one I watched was like I watched the Jeopardy Watson episodes recently.
Oh, what's that?
I don't know if you ever watched that. IBM Watson, do you know what that is?
Yeah, is it one of their AIs?
Yeah, it's one of like their biggest AI. Well, as of like 5 years ago or so, they probably have something better now. But they developed Watson, and they like developed him to play in a Jeopardy match against like the two best Jeopardy players. I know Ken Jennings was one of them. It was Ken Jennings and someone else. If you know Jeopardy, you'd know who Ken is. And so like they just showed the algorithm for they gave us some insight into the algorithm, how Watson learns. And like you'll just watch it throughout the show, and they'll give his probabilities. So they had it that he'll display the probabilities of like what an answer is. So they decided like how they gave him rational decision thinking, where like if Watson thought that the answer was 70% accurate, he would like buzz in and try to answer that. And then if it was lower than that, he wouldn't. And there were just some, like, he destroyed the competition. It wasn't close. But there were like answers that he'd get wrong, and you'd like think about it and you'd understand like where he got that.
Right.
So like he would like correlate the wrong words with something else, because it'd be like slang or something, or it'd be like some pop culture reference that he just didn't know. So he'd answer with something like, if it was a normal person, you'd never guess like why he would answer like that. But Watson would just answer these answers that like when you thought about it, you're like, oh, I kind of understand how like this AI is thinking.
Yeah.
So like they almost have like human like thought processes now.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess that it's a neural network, because there's a difference between something that's algorithmic, where it's just kind of thrown into an equation and then by brute force it'll figure out the best possible solution. That's like an old school sort of a weaker AI. But AIs, neural networks, are like ones that will learn based on trial and error, based on mutation. It like just like I was talking about the Darwinistic thing. Well, where they will develop, I guess what you can call a game sense or an intuition, because instead of like brute forcing all the solutions, it's more that they'll go a certain direction of making decisions based on how weighted, like the probability of something might be. Yeah. I don't fully understand it, and I can't explain it super well, but I know that neural networks are really powerful, especially in closed systems. And like what we were talking about with Jeopardy, for games in general, neural networks will destroy anything, because they're so good at learning closed systems. Like chess is one of them.
Yeah, how chess, this is like a solved game because of...
Well, I wouldn't say it's solved, but because AIs are beating other AIs now. But it's more that...
really?
Yeah. It's more that because they have like AI competitions in chess. Actually, it's really cool. Because several AIs are already better than the strongest human, So
Yeah.
the only way to see which one's the strongest AI is to pit them against each other, and like they will do basically moves that are quote unquote new, like because brute force algorithms can maybe go like 30, 40 moves into any game and still be able to win because it remembers what to do, right? But there are some lines that maybe there's a new move 30 moves in that a neural network AI can figure out because it's able to like store that memory better in a way because it has intuition rather than brute force algorithm. Because it's if you're gonna do like however many billion moves, it's better to have a sense of direction rather than brute forcing it because the computer will still be slow at brute forcing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. There's kind of something similar with like esports where like there's AI developed that'll learn based on what you do.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah, so
cool.
like the AI essentially learns everything from what you do, so it starts out as like a base level like CPU, and then it'll further develop, which is something that's
Ah,
like really getting looked at in like League. So you can
yeah,
have like Faker basically just train an AI to
yeah.
become better than him, and then instead of having to do, because I don't know if you watched Worlds this year or not.
I did. I did.
Um, but did you hear how FPX like destroyed G2 in all their scrims?
Yeah, yeah,
So like it essentially eliminates needing to scrim in like those type of situations, which might be desirable for certain teams like G2,
mm-hmm.
where their macro and like individual mechanics compared to like the teams in the LCK and the LPL are less. So they'd be able to train against AIs that are better than them, or you could feed them video of Faker playing, and
Yeah.
you could essentially have a team that beats SKT every time playing against you.
Right. Yeah. And what I like about that too, because they've already done it in Dota, right?
Yeah. Dota's I think the first one who like really adopted it.
Yeah. It was OpenAI. I think that's a company, or if it's just the name of an AI. But they defeated the strongest Dota team, right? It was like a OG. I don't know if they're the champion Dota team, but they defeated like a top tier Dota team with
Yeah.
the AIs. And what's cool about it is that they were making decisions that were not really human like. Some decisions like backing at certain times that didn't make sense. To buy certain items that people normally wouldn't do. And the other thing about them is that, and they must have practiced this. The AIs must have practiced this like a millionfold, but they would escape fights with like a sliver of HP to maximize their value in every single skirmish.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was super cool. Like, because they were playing against the humans, but they would enter fights. They would be really aggressive and enter fights that look like they will lose, but they will actually escape with a sliver because they had calculated how the fight will go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I guess they would be able to learn like damages way better than us.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like we go into fight looking at like what Darius has and see how much damage his ult
Yeah,
does.
it's like maybe I'll get it, but
Yeah,
the AI will know exactly what damage will go.
yeah,
Yeah.
because they'll just remember that. That's an interesting point.
Yeah. It's funny because if you watch, I watched some commentary on that Dota match where the Dota would like, the AI would like look at where it is in the game, no matter the position, and it will be able to give you its percentage of winning. So even at the very beginning of the game, it said, "Oh, we have a 65% of winning," and I don't know if that's based on like, yeah, I don't know if that's based on like team comp or something, or I don't know.
Oh yeah, because like you could just win in draft. That makes sense.
Exactly, yeah. Um,
Oh yeah, that's also interesting because like they have a basically limitless champion pool.
yeah, exactly, yeah. So it's really interesting that I mean, maybe in the future we'll see AIs versus AIs, but basically what you're saying with the FPX situation is that we can start using AIs to train ourselves.
Yeah.
That's super cool. And I
Or
think I would love to see it start happening in fighting games because we haven't seen it done successfully in fighting games yet, but it probably
yeah,
could.
I think the best one we've seen was the melee bot at a Smash the Record. I think it was what it was.
Oh yeah.
I think it was at an SGR
Was
two
that the
years
Marth
ago.
bot?
I don't remember what it was. It was the one that Mike Hayes like back throw shined or something.
Uh-huh.
Because I think that was the only mechanic that it had one mechanic that it didn't properly learn,
Ah,
which that one was a brute force method. I'm pretty sure. I think it was a brute force AI where it had like like it was. I think it was essentially frame perfect, but you would come down from the halo with invincibility and then shine or do something, and you'd be able to throw them off because like it's a brute force. So it would see you and then instantly try to frame perfect grab or shine you,
right.
and it couldn't because you have iframes.
So
Um,
if it didn't, that's the weakness of algorithm, a brute force AI, is that if you introduce something that it doesn't recognize, it'll be slower or just straight up do something wrong.
Yeah.
Whereas a neural network will observe it and eventually overcome it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to find this because I feel like there's footage of it.
Yeah. If this was like a Joe Rogan podcast, we could like bring it up on screen and stuff, but I just keep these on audio. But yeah, it's funny that we went onto this topic because it's actually something I've been really learning about lately, especially because of how important it is with stuff like deepfake.
Yeah.
And whatever else. I mean, you can put AIs into anything essentially, and like I was saying, they're good at mastering closed systems. So the more simple the system is, the better and faster they will improve at it.
Yeah.
Smashbot versus the pros. It's
Cool. That's cool. That's cool. I'm scared.
Yeah, it's poor.
okay.
I
It's like
leave
2
it
hours
over.
long, but I definitely want to check this out. It's the Fox, right?
Yeah, it's the Fox
There
one.
we go.
Yeah.
He's
Look, all you need is one
vanilla
more stock,
Fox.
and we're
Oh my
in
God.
terms.
Oh yeah,
of
that was also a
statistics, we're on
limitation of
pace.
it.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Chudat wasn't allowed to play
Bro,
ICs
Fair's not working.
because they didn't
Chew,
let
just to
the
recap,
bot
last 3
be programmed to play ICs.
So the bot that they had only knows certain matchups.
Yeah, which is another issue of the brute force, right?
Right.
Because if it had a neural network, they would be able to have Chu start out against it, and then eventually it would start beating him.
What interests me is that my favorite thing is when neural networks learn from scratch. They could be trained, but they also can learn from scratch. And I think it's a more pure AI if it's approached that way. It's more of a cleaner learning method. And that has been shown with the AlphaZero match in chess. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
Was that the one against Magnus or like?
No. It was AlphaZero versus Stockfish. Because Stockfish is an AI. It's a brute force AI that is already stronger than all human players. But AlphaZero defeated Stockfish. It was like a 100-game match, and it was like 64 draws, and some number of wins, but it didn't lose at all. It went undefeated. But anyway, that AlphaZero was the AI that pretty much programmed itself from scratch by playing against itself for 4 hours in like millions of games. Maybe billions. I don't remember the number. But that was like because chess is a closed system and it's easy to understand. That AI was able to like surpass everything in a short time because it learned from scratch and played itself.
So in like that situation, do you just teach it the rules of the game?
Yes, it only has to know the rules. You don't have to teach it what to do because
interesting.
It will learn on its own what to do based on wins and losses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I guess if you do have a billion repetitions, you would be able to find out. Because like what I was thinking of in terms of like, you know how if you like learn like Melee is a pretty good example. If you learn Melee with like one friend, you're not gonna be good per se.
Yeah.
You'll be good against your friend because you'll get to the point where you always win against your friend if you keep grinding. But like if you were to play anyone else, you would lose. But that also just might be an issue of just not enough repetition. So maybe if you did play a billion games against your best friend, you would be.
And also assuming that you're learning and your friend is learning.
Yeah.
And also assuming, if we're going to go with the AI analogy here, also assuming that you'll remember everything that happens. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
You not only do you have to play that many repetitions, but also have a perfect memory of everything.
Yeah. I wonder if they had, in any of like the matches, did he have like a super abnormal start on the first move?
Well, I think no. They actually do pretty standard openings because I think because people have figured out which moves are bad and good. And the thing about chess openings is that you can pretty much learn the openings of what's good and bad, into like up to like maybe 15 to 20 moves, maybe more. Maybe there are some openings that are even more well researched. But because any other move in that situation would be bad.
That makes sense because you would know the odds, right? You know what could happen.
Yeah. Like there are some moves that there's maybe 20 moves into the game. There's a not solved, but like a standard opening where any single move besides the next one would have give you a disadvantage. So AIs will figure that out, but then after that, then they'll start innovating.
Yeah.
And AlphaZero did that a lot, where basically deep into the game, the thing I liked about AlphaZero's games where it won is that basically it only won as white, by the way. Winning as black with AI seems impossible. But it basically it kept momentum from move 1 into a position where black basically had 0 moves that were good anymore.
Oh, that makes sense, because you would get past the standard opening where you're net neutral, kind of net neutral. You're never really neutral in black, but you'd get to the point where you're like neutral, and then you pass that, and then you force them into a decision where every move they make is non-optimal, essentially.
Yes, exactly. And that was some of the coolest games that I saw from AlphaZero, because it's like it's looking that far ahead. Yeah.
Is Magnus ever beaten when he's on white?
I mean, he does. I wouldn't know personally, but I know top players do in general drop games. Yeah. I'm sure he's lost some games as white, but I wouldn't know. Hello?
Oh, hi. Sorry.
Yeah. And the thing is, they also play different time settings. Classical is basically unlimited. I mean, you get like an hour and a half for your game or something like that. But then there's also rapid and blitz games, which are 10 minutes and 5-minute timers. And then there's bullet games, which are 1-minute timers, which is basically to test your intuition and reflexes.
Yeah, blitz games are hard on their own. I play those, and like I get hard stomped.
Yeah. I only play blitz because it's like it feels more like a fighting game to me. That's
that's actually kind of true. Yeah.
It's because you're more trusting your instincts rather than calculating.
Yeah, I'm much more methodical when it comes to chess.
Yeah. Anyway, I do want to get into the topic basically for myself now. Since one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you is because you know business in econ.
Yeah.
And I have been, quote unquote, running my own business. It's not really a business. It's more of a freelance situation. But I would like to make it more business-like. And I did recently get Comcast Business Internet because I gave them a business name, but I don't have an LLC. I don't have a business license. I don't even know what those mean. But I want to basically grow my art business. And I guess if there's anything I can improve that I can think of, I would like to ask some questions, maybe suggestions that you had. Do you guys do that in class? Like look at different types of business and look at how they and stuff like that?
I know a few types of business structures. Like I know about LLC and stuff like that. Like you don't necessarily need those to become a business. It's mostly for like tax purposes, like insurance and like covering yourself. Because like most of the like in certain situations you're able to shift from like an LLC to something else. Like you don't have, it's not a set thing. So a lot of it is just based on what you're doing. So for like LLC, it's basically allowing the owner to be independent from the business's like debts. So there's like some scenarios where if you don't want your personal income to be taxed, but you want to be taxed on your company, you'll have losses in your company, so you get taxed lower. So like the structures, I don't remember the whole thing with like incorporated. I could look up what an incorporated is because I can't remember.
Yeah, sure.
But like that's the big thing with LLC.
So you're basically creating a new tax entity by because business. I think businesses can be that, right? Like you don't have to be a human to have like a tax.
Yeah, businesses are taxed because their income is taxed.
Right.
So it just depends on you as the owner, to what formation you're going to be in and how you want it to impact your total like net profits. So if you're, so what happens is if like say you're like a billionaire per se, and your company is reportedly taking losses, which you can show because you could show like you could buy something and then show depreciation and then take on the depreciation even though depreciation isn't real. So like
what is depreciation?
Yeah, so like if you own an art company, and you buy a totally new like computer and like the drawing pad and stuff like that,
Mhm.
you can say that those items are for your business and they depreciate in value each year over.
Right.
And then there's certain methods of how you can depreciate. So it's not even how, like, let's say you bought it all for $1,000 and it depreciates 100
Mhm.
each year. So you don't even have to depreciate 100 over a year. You can depreciate like 500 in the first year and then like 50 the rest. So you're able to manage a technical debt that isn't real. And you could report it. Yeah. So you could report it on your income statement as,
Mhm.
so if you made like $500 in the first year, you can say that you had the depreciation of 500 and you would have a net zero profit. So you wouldn't be
Oh,
taxed.
I see.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. I remember my mom telling me something about that because she was telling me like you should get a business license so that you can get stuff like overhead, like
Yeah.
electricity and stuff like that.
Yeah, so you can be able to do that. So it's mostly for like the reasoning for wanting to become like a incorporate or an LLC is for the different tax benefits and
Okay.
formats that it offers.
Okay, that makes sense. So for me personally, because it's tax related, I don't think I need that right now because
Yeah.
I would still consider myself a small business and independent.
Yeah, I don't
So
think it'd really be necessary to like
yeah.
put focus on what type of business structure you'd want in like the next year or so. I don't really
Okay.
think that's a forefront issue.
Okay. So my issue then, I just want to make more money. Really, that's like
Yeah.
it's an income thing, and so basically for 3 years I've had a somewhat steady flow of commission work. Almost 100% of I would say maybe around 90% of my income in the past 3 years is from commission work. Very little of it was also Twitch and product sales through Redbubble and also selling prints and doing commissions at cons. Those were like the primary. Those were like the small sources of my income, but almost 90% of it I would say is commission work.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know that there's something called expanding laterally and vertically.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing like doing the other stuff is like lateral, right? Is that kind of how? Is that describing it
Okay,
correctly?
so the way that vertical and horizontal expansion or like mastering per se,
Mm-hmm.
it is so like the famous example is Amazon. I don't know if you heard through Amazon of that example, but they were through horizontal focus where so each like it, so I'm trying to think of a how to think about this. So there's like blocks of
Mm-hmm.
each different topic. So going upwards on those blocks is vertical, and you're going through different topics. So like basic supply chain is you have the thing at the very top that makes what you're selling,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then it moves to wholesalers, and then it goes to like grocery stores, and then it goes to consumers. So that would be a
Oh.
basic top-down vertical line, right?
Okay. Okay.
Um, and then within those, you would have different like types of strategies. So you'd have different, and then like or the grocery store one, or the consumer one. The consumers would be like regular people. They would be owners themselves. So you're selling business to business. You'd sell business to consumer. So
Mm.
it on the vertical side, it's totally different topics, and then on the horizontal, it's variants of those topics.
I see. Okay, that makes sense.
So in the case of Amazon, they focused on supply chain, and
Mm.
then they mastered supply chain horizontally. And once they became the peak in supply chain, they were able to expand vertically after like already completing horizontal expansion.
Ah, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
So in like the case for art, like one horizontal could be, I guess the horizontal would be like, maybe like time.
Mm-hmm.
So you could focus on expanding, like you could become more efficient in the time it takes from purchase to reception of that item you buy. Stuff
Right,
like that could be horizontal.
and when I've done a lot of analysis of like my current model, and I was looking at all these things, all these models in my document, and especially the Amazon flywheel, where customer experience is basically the central part of it. That's the main thing on my end as a one person business that can improve. and I thought about how can I make it better, because people already like my work and people already like my pricing. But if I can be faster, then there will be an even better customer experience.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to think of many other ways to like make it better for them, which in turn makes it better for me. But I've kind of like running out of ideas.
In terms of marketing, we focus on customer experience a lot because like there's like tiers to customers that you aim for. So there's like the one-time customers, which aren't very important. Actually, I want to pull up the names. They have certain names for them.
Oh, okay. I would love to see this.
There
Customer
we go.
Tiers. I want some S tier customers.
Yeah. So what it is they have they separate it based on market growth rate and relative market share. So they have them separated in, what are they called? You have I'm trying to think of what the dog is called. So you have a cash cow, you have the star, you have a question mark, and then you have a dog.
Those are like the types?
Yeah, those are the 4 types of customers.
Name them again. Cash cow, star.
I can send you an image right now.
Yeah, sure. Cash
so
cow, star, dog.
Yeah, cash cow, star,
I see.
dog, and question mark.
I like this model. Okay, growth share. Matrix.
Yeah. So the way it works is the cash cow is something that has been generating you a lot of revenue, but you don't see it growing necessarily. So it's something that's established and that is self-sufficient on its own.
Okay.
So in like I'm trying to think of a company that does that. Something that's self-sufficient that I don't need to focus on. I guess it could be like just Nike with like socks. Nike stocks are like, or Nike socks, like you're gonna need to buy socks. They've been selling socks. They don't necessarily need to focus on socks, right? They're not gonna, like, if they release a new higher thread count sock, they're not gonna see the market share shoot up for socks. They need to keep making socks because it produces a majority of revenue, but they don't need to focus on trying to see its potential grow more. It's reached its potential, is what you should say.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it's a revenue producing, like customer and item that like has reached its peak, but will still continue to buy. The star probably makes the most sense. It's something that generates a lot of cash and has high growth potential, so it's growing rapidly. So what's something that has been like crazy in the past like couple years or so? Maybe like like AirPods.
Oh yeah.
So you could focus on AirPods. So AirPods shot up and then everyone bought them. And then they focused on them and they just released a second model, stuff like that.
I see.
So the AirPod is a high focus target for Apple, and they're trying to reach a lot of customers because they see the high growth rate and they see the high cash revenue.
Okay. So how would you describe market growth rate?
Market growth rate. So in terms of this model, it would be like, I'm trying to think in terms of, so the market share is just the market growth rate would be like X units are being bought at like this percentage. So there's like, these units are being bought at the same. So for iPhones, there's 12 iPhones sold every month for the year. And then if you has a high market growth rate, each month it'll be like 12 and then 24 and then 48. It's just doubling each month.
I see.
A low market growth rate would be like you have 12 in January, 13 in February, 13 in March, 14 in April. So there is consistent growth, but it's just much less steep.
I see.
And then the dog is just, you see low growth rates and you see low revenues. It's the lowest focused one. And then the relative market share with the low and the high growth rate, the mystery, the question mark, you don't really know what's going to happen with it. So that's something that you weren't really putting a lot of focus on, and then it just exploded.
I see.
I'm trying to think of something that falls into that category. Oh, I think White Claws work in that way.
Oh, yeah.
Because White Claws were a thing for years.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they just shot up like last summer.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So like that's something that I don't know who makes White Claw, some alcohol company. We could just say White Claw Incorporated. They weren't necessarily looking at it to become a star, but it could. And so they kept putting them out there. They saw growth rate, and then they weren't really getting a large share out of it. So it'd probably be better if like Budweiser owned it, because Budweiser's going to focus on beer, right? But they have this White Claw thing that they think could really pop out, but they're not going to invest so much in it now because it's not producing much.
Okay.
And then it's like pops up out of nowhere, and then they can start investing in it, because the question mark is essentially, is it going to become a dog or is it going to become a star?
Right.
It's almost like
You can go in
the
either direction.
yeah, it's almost like in purgatory, and you're deciding where it goes in the future.
Okay, I see. That makes so much sense. And
Yeah.
so
So,
these things, I know it says growth share matrix, but these, the star, the question mark, the cash cow, and the dog, these describe customers?
You could describe them. It depends on this one, but for the business model, you could focus it on products.
Oh, products. Okay, yeah. Okay.
You could also focus it on customers related directly to those products.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, the cash cows would just be the people who already like your art, essentially.
Yeah. Right.
The people who are going to buy it.
Okay, so it could describe either.
Yeah.
But
you
for
can
for me in particular, I would want to focus on product, I think.
which is where you should, because the customer derives from the product.
Yeah.
It's not essentially made for a customer, but it just relates to customers, because you can associate a customer with a product.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so for like, I think I'm trying to think of like the question marks would probably be in your case when like new games come out.
Yeah.
So like before like the Pokemon comes out, if you start making Pokemon art, you see high growth rate, but you're not really making money from it yet, right?
Yeah.
And you're hoping it becomes a star and then make stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like it kind of has similar when you had the Dragon Ball Fighters and you started making some stuff there. I think you made some Android stuff that was pretty popular.
Yeah.
So that was something that you saw that had a high market growth rate, and that you thought could become something that gave you a lot of market share, which is what it did.
Okay.
Kind of similar to your model with like, how should I expand my demand? You focus on the taste and preferences, and you saw, and also expectations. So you saw a returning taste in terms of Dragon Ball Z. And Dragon Ball, and you expected people to want to buy that when the game came out, because you think that popularity would resurge, and it did. So that'd be like a scenario like that. So if you want to focus on catering to customers, you can try to predict their tastes.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. I think, but even then, that's kind of risky, right? Like I enjoy like stuff that's more low risk, and for me, one thing I haven't done. Like, I do measure how much income I get from each separate thing, but in my mind, I've kind of chunked commissions as one thing, even though I've done many different kinds. Like, I've done illustrations and I've done animations. I get most of my money from animation work for Twitch streamers still. That's still my main niche. But because Twitch is starting to plateau in my eyes, and there are more and more people creating content for streamers, I feel like that market may be plateauing right now, and I want to stay relevant. So that's why I'm still exploring like different types of commission work. But yeah, it's just really like, I really like this model because it can be really hard to predict what people want, and that's basically what I want to be doing, is what people want, but also what I enjoy. Because like, I know there's a lot of people who tell me, dude, Andre, you should just draw like, I don't know, hentai or whatever, and then but I'm like, I can't do that. I want to do what I want to do. I want to do what
exactly.
my brand. So I gotta find that balance. But I'm gonna stare at this model a lot, and I think this might be the main takeaway this time I talk to you, because this will help guide me, because I do focus a lot, like I'm trying to build a YouTube channel, but all those things are so slow, and like the market growth rate and the relative market share for doing something like that they're both low. So I guess in my eyes, like, those could be, well, I guess depending on how good it is, it could be a question mark, but it's more dog-like right now, when I do other stuff besides drawing my commissions.
I'll just throw that in there for later for you to read like after the fact.
Okay, how to use the BCG? Okay, awesome.
Yeah, just you to have like holding on to that.
I'm definitely gonna look at this.
Yeah, so like that's where the major issue comes with like trying to decide between if this question mark going to become a dog or is it going to become a star. And if I think it could become a dog, I should stop investing in it or stop focusing on it as much. So like if in the situation with like YouTube, if you think that you could start earning YouTube revenue a lot and you think that it could become a star, you would focus on it a lot more. Like you would move it up in the ladder.
Yeah. Because one thing I've noticed, especially with me, because my stream has changed a lot in the past like few months because I'm a lot less interactive on stream because I'm focusing more on the work, but also focusing on like not making as much noise. Because remember, I used to live alone, so I could basically make noise and dance around and sing songs and do whatever I want. But I'm in a house with a family now, so I've really toned it down. But I think that viewership has greatly suffered because of the change in tone. So I'm focusing more on the work itself, which is, I think, in a way good. I'm probably losing Twitch revenue, but I am increasing in actual production revenue. So that's why I'm actually streaming less now, because I think for my product, streaming could still be great, but my stream in particular is not really. I don't need it anymore, I would say.
Yeah, so that would become a dog at that point.
Yeah.
Or leaning towards becoming a dog, right?
Yeah. But I still get like the loyal subs, So I still
it might even be like a lower tier cash cow.
Yeah, something like that.
Because it might just be something that you don't need to focus on, but you could just boot it up like once a week or so, whenever you just want to like go through some work. You could put music on and then just show the work, and then you won't have to interact or anything. You could just go through the work.
Yeah, I see. Because it's more, Twitch has been more of a low level consistent thing. So I think there's no reason for me to stop streaming. It's just that I shouldn't focus on improving the stream, but rather improving the star, which is my work.
Yeah, and that helps as well, because if you're doing like a lower interactive stream where it's mostly focused on the art, you're becoming more efficient that way.
Yeah, you're right. And I don't get distracted by chat or whatever.
Yeah.
And that has been a problem in the past too. So I think this really ties into, because I've watched a lot of Sam Ovens in the past. I know there's a lot of quote unquote gurus on the YouTube. And I should be careful on who I listen to, because a lot of people out there are just kind of like sensational.
Yeah.
But Sam Ovens, so far, almost all the content he has put out has been helpful to me. I know people have said like his actual class that you purchase is kind of a scammy, but his free content is really so good when it comes to teaching stuff like this. And in some of his videos, he really is a proponent of focusing on the product, making sure the product is as good as possible. Because what else are people buying?
Yeah.
Especially from someone like me, who everything is product.
If you want to learn a lot of economics, because I know when I've hopped in your stream, you've been listening to a lot of like talks and stuff on like in the background. You're not listening to music as much. You have I think was it a professor who was talking, like a lecture or something of that sort? I think maybe listening to this guy. This guy is like really good at economics.
This is the guy who taught me supply and demand. I've seen this guy before.
Yeah, he has a lot of economics knowledge, and he displays it in a way that makes it pretty easy to understand. Mm-hmm. And if you were to forget, you know exactly where you like learned it, so you could just go right back. Right, I think his like basic economics videos are really good.
Okay, so this is Jacob Clifford for anyone listening. And sweet, I just got a message from a new customer. So I've actually still been doing my work, a good portion of my work on Fiverr. Probably, I would say like maybe 50% of my work comes from Fiverr still. And then there's other people who see me through Instagram or through other people's streams, and then will message me from there. Mm-hmm. But I think I should continue. See, here's the thing. I keep wanting to reinvent myself, but usually what happens is that I realize I'm on a good path. I just need to keep grinding out the same path and making it better. That's kind of something I think about a lot. Like, focusing on because the more animations I make and the more people enjoy my commissions, the more people see it, and then they kind of like a lot of like almost all my work is just from people who saw me do work for somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that makes sense on wanting to because like if you're thinking about it, by doing that, you're essentially just expanding horizontally.
Right.
You're focusing horizontally. So you're doing more animations. You're getting better at animations. and then the people themselves are acting as like your supply chain and marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So you're essentially getting free marketing.
Yes.
And if you were to do that more, you're just getting more marketing for something that you would already be doing.
Right. Okay.
So the more efficient you become, the more free marketing you're getting in this model.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. I think honestly, considering what I do, I think that is what I should bank on right now. I think I should focus on getting faster and better because you're right. The free marketing does come, and a lot of times I get scared that it's not gonna keep growing the way it is. But so far, for the past few years, it's been consistent. That almost always my customers come from either the same guy comes back or they showed somebody else and then someone else came to me.
Yeah. And then I think since you've had like the multiple years of just history at this point, you'd be able to tell when a fluctuation is occurring. So if you start seeing things go south or go north, you'd be able to recognize that if you have like the past data and like recollection of that. Okay. So even if you think like this is the right idea and you should focus on this, if you happen to see like your numbers fall, you'd be able to recognize that. And then I think you should act according to that.
Okay. So I should act wisely then. I'm not just saying that. Okay, so I shouldn't say that this is the path I need to go, but this is the move I need to do right now. And if it changes in the future, then I can adjust from there.
Yeah, because I feel like you'll have enough time and enough like clear signs to see that it's happening.
Okay.
Especially with I think 3 years or however many years, like 2 to 4 years has been pretty consistent. You'd be able to tell when something changes, especially with that track record.
Yeah.
So I think focusing on something for the now that you think would have a high percentage of being successful would be totally fine.
Okay. So I kind of want to move into like I guess more of a marketing topic. The thing is, as an artist, you kind of have to be really present in social media to increase your reach yourself.
Yeah.
Because there is the organic way where other customers they'll discover me from other customers. But as long as I'm consistent on social media, it does help growth because a lot of people either on Facebook or Twitter will be like, "Hey, I seen your work, I like it. Can I have some?" Basically, right? So, one question I have is like the time investment. Because it is tedious, I don't really enjoy it, and it is a time investment to just post stuff everywhere. And a lot of people get caught up in just doing that because they like the attention. I don't want to get caught up in the attention. I just want to do it in a way that's beneficial to me. I want to maximize it, but I want to do it in a way that's like efficient and beneficial.
I think an efficient way might be because I know you were posting. Like the Twitter ones, you were just posting the titles and then the photos after you were done, right?
Yeah.
I think that's pretty simple. So like every time you go on Twitter and you had a new work, you could just post it and then scroll your feed through or something like that. If you check Twitter feed, I don't know if you do or not. But if you like scroll through Twitter like throughout the day, if you have some backlog stuff, you could just post it on there.
Okay.
Especially with how like the low effort the title is and stuff like that.
Yeah.
In terms of Facebook, I know when you did like the whatever the commissions were, the $10, $20 ones, you would post it and tag them after, and then after that you can maybe just share it to all the other pages or stuff like that. Make like one custom message and then modify that for the rest, so you don't have to spend a lot of time just trying to type messages. You just post once and then you're able to repost with the message or just share.
Okay.
I think that could be efficient use of time for like Facebook.
What I recently discovered is that with Facebook, through business Facebook, because I have a business account, I could actually automate Instagram posts, and I did it for like 3 weeks. And what's cool is that my follower count was growing, and I was basically doing nothing because I had automated scheduled posts for like 3 weeks, and I feel like that's something I could keep doing.
Yeah, maybe if you have like downtime throughout the day, or you did a lot of work and then you don't really want to draw, you were just going at it all day, you could just maybe focusing on that, kind of like how we talked about last time, if you remember, how if you ever had downtime or if you wanted to focus on it, you could just do like a full Redbubble day, just make a bunch of tiny things and then post it on Redbubble since it lasts forever.
Yeah, so
you just focus a lot on it once and then it'll just be self-sufficient.
So
maybe oh, you could go.
Well, I mean, that's a good suggestion. But I think I've done some research on Redbubble now, and it's kind of pretty dog-like because like the revenue, how much you actually make is so small. Even if I increase the percentage on like t-shirts, I think t-shirts are the best for me because I'll actually get like $2 for selling a shirt. But everything else, like stickers and stuff like that, is just so small that it like doesn't even matter basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty dog-like. But I mean, I still think if I get good at like let's say a t-shirt and there's actually demand for it, it really depends on if I get lucky. Because there was this Ibuki drawing. It's actually the most profitable drawing I've ever made. Is this Ibuki drawing I did like 2 years ago? You know Ibuki from Street Fighter?
Yeah.
So I've sold like 15 prints of it and several t-shirts on Redbubble. So I probably made like maybe a couple $100 off that drawing, but I took maybe 1 to 2 hours from that drawing. And it's really, I really want to make like hit drawings like that more often, where it doesn't take very long and everybody loves it. You know, it's like, it's kind of hard to do that because you don't really know what people like. But the reason I did that one was funny too, because I didn't need to draw it. I had a table at Sandcal Standoff, the very first one, and I wanted to make sure I had a print that maybe the FGC would like. I only sold like one at Sandcal Standoff, but I brought that same print to other events. They sold, and then I put it on Redbubble, and those sold. I'm lucky that it wasn't taken down from Redbubble because it is a Street Fighter character. But it's stuff like that where I just get really lucky.
Yeah, but I think even if you take into that, you could just see it as a question mark. So it's not a matter of just like plotting it and hoping. You can see it as a question mark, and then it became probably a cash cow at that point.
Yeah.
Cash cow or even a star, because it did grow. But like, I think you should just in like that scenario, maybe instead of just focusing on like the like if you have a free time between commissions, if you ever do, maybe just try to like focus on something like that again. Then do like a few like 1-2 hour sketches, and then see how that goes.
Okay, I think I think one of the best things I could go toward, if I am gonna make a change at all, is that with popular characters like that, those things can reach a lot of people. The thing is, when people commission like their OCs, or you know, basically characters that are unrecognizable, I enjoy drawing them because it's gonna please that person and it's gonna pay. But I like stuff when people commission me, for example, a popular character, because not only can I draw it and for the commission where that income is guaranteed, but it creates a question mark every time. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah,
because then I can use whatever I commissioned and try to sell it elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, you could maybe look for I don't know how this would work, but you could essentially do like personalized pricing models, where if someone someone requests something that is like pretty popular, you could look to giving them a discount.
Ah, that's really good. I like that.
So if someone requested like, I don't know, the new Pokemon girl, I don't know if you know who that is. I've just been seeing her on Twitter. If someone like recommended her, you would be like, you could just say like, I was already planning on doing that or something. So I'll give you like $5 or $10 off my regular rate.
Oh, that's so good.
And then so that basically saves you time, because it gives you a solid revenue that you already know you're gonna get, and then it also gives you time to do something you were already planning on doing or wanting to do.
Yes. Okay.
And then on top of that, it helps with like your focus on building customer experience, because they know if they got a discount, they'll come back.
Yeah. Oh, that's
or
so
more
sick.
likely to come back.
Right. Okay. I'm gonna implement this like right away, and you'll see it.
Yeah, because I think that's a pretty smart idea. Just like personalized pricing works a lot.
Okay. Because it's because at that point it's moving toward what I want to do.
Yeah.
So I think it just benefits everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Thank you. I feel like I just wanted some kind of gem from talking to you, and I feel like I got it. Dang. Okay. Wow. There's probably so much more I can extract from you, but that is so good. Because I feel like, I mean, you know Karina, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and she has been doing popular characters for a long time, and that's why she's able to build her Patreon. Because the characters she draws are popular, like Pokemon or anime characters or game characters or whatever. and I want to like. I didn't realize that you can influence the way, like the market treats you, by changing the prices of different types of products. Because normally, what I've been doing is just whatever people want, I'll do it for them, and if it happens to be something like popular, then I'm like, okay, awesome. But what I can do is influence it by lowering the price of something like a popular character, giving them a discount, because I know that because even though I'm giving them the discount, it could still pay off for me in the end because it's something popular and it could sell elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. That's awesome.
I'm happy to be of help.
Probably gonna have you come back on this someday. I don't know if anyone's actually gonna listen to this one, but I feel like there's a lot here for artists that could be really helpful. Yeah, because the people who follow me know I've been doing this consistently, but I'm always trying to be conscious of how to grow, and I've been struggling figuring that out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, man, probably gonna cut this soon, but I wonder. My question to you is also like, what do you plan on doing career-wise after you finish school?
I've been working in customer finance recently. That's where I came home from today. I was working there. So I was just trying to get my foot into like the finance realm, see what I want to do there. I'm taking an investments course, so I've always wanted to do something on like Wall Street's always a dream, but like just for a more realistic sense, I think following the stock market's pretty interesting. And at the bare minimum, just working in like finance from business side. I could see myself being in customer finance. I think working with customers is pretty cool, especially when like they're your own personal customers and you're responsible for them within a company.
Yeah.
Finance is pretty cool. I like working with software. I like working with I think having the knowledge that you're responsible for a large amount of money and that people trust you with a large amount of money is pretty rewarding, especially when you go to school for 4 extra years and you're paying a lot. So you get some sort of validation from it.
Mm-hmm.
I could definitely see myself working in finance. I could see myself working in customer finance at like the minimum. I want to go into like investments, maybe like portfolio management, something like that. But finance realm is definitely where I'm aiming for.
Dude, that's awesome. I feel like you're gonna be pretty successful. I think.
I hope.
How big is like consulting? I know that's a thing. That's for like persons, like people who are really good at like guiding other.
Yeah, you could look into consulting. Consulting's pretty big because you kind of need, like, I think almost like every successful business has a consultant or like some person within the company refers to one at minimum.
Yeah.
There's like giant consulting groups. Boston's also actually really good for consulting groups. Boston Consulting Group, I think, is a Boston University or like Harvard based, and it's the best consulting group in like the US.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like a lot of material here if I were to look into that. I mean, I still have like a year and a half to go to like try to forge my path, but I could definitely see finance as something that I can work in and would enjoy. So.
Yo, dude, I'm like really beginning to think that question marks are really good. Like, I mean, just the fact that they exist, because it could be something. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that also goes with experience too, because the more it goes, the more that you'll be able to see question marks that follow patterns, which follows with like the whole experience we talked about with how you can follow methods now because you've had the 3 years of constant flow. But like the more you do this, the more you focus on like thinking about question marks and seeing which ones turn to stars, which one turns to dogs. You'll know this one's going to turn to a dog, this one's going to turn to a star much better, and like you'll be able to call it earlier. You'll have like hunches and points like that. Yeah.
Well, anyway, Nikita, I could talk more, but my wife's calling me. I got to pick her up from work. And,
yeah, no problem.
Dude, this was awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was fun.
I'll tag you and stuff, and then hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Okay, cool. Sounds good.
All right, peace out, man.
See ya.
Yeah. All right, bye.